بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد Alhamdulillah, we continue to go over the tremendous book الدروس المهمة لعامة الأمة, the important lessons for the Muslim nation, or the important lessons for the general masses of the Ummah, or as they put it, important lessons for every Muslim. Last week we went over the isti'adha, and the isti'adha is to say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So we went over the isti'adha in the last week's class, which brings us to the basmala inside of Surah Al-Fatiha. The basmala inside of Surah Al-Fatiha. And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's statement, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It is important issue, a side issue that we want to mention, and that is, as Sheikh Abdul Razak and Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad Al-Badr, he mentions, he says, Al-Basmala ayatun min kitabillah azza wa jal. That the Basmala, it is an ayah from the book of Allah azza wa jal. The issue, or there is an issue as relates to this Basmala. Shaykh Khalid Abdul Rahman al-Masri حفظه ta'ala, he mentions, he says, هذه بسملة أو هذه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فيها مسائل من الفقه. That the Basmala, there are some issues that are concerning it in fiqh. أولا, the first, هي آية أو ليست بآية. Is it a verse or is it not a verse? فيه نزاع بين العلماء. The ulama, they have a difference of opinion as relates to this. منهم من قال بأن البسملة آية ومنهم من قال بأنها ليست بآية. You have from the scholars some who say that the Basmala, that is to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, then they say that it is an ayah. It is an ayah. It's a verse by itself. Others from amongst the scholars, they say it's not an ayah. It is not an ayah. Now, and what they are referring to are the basmala in front of every surah, except for, of course, Surah At-Tawbah, because there's no basmala in front of Surah At-Tawbah. And likewise, they're not speaking about the basmala, yani Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as it comes inside of Surah Al-Naml, as it comes inside of Surah Al-Naml. Naam, because in the 30th ayah from Surah Al-Naml, you'll find in it Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَّهُ مِنَ السُّلَيْمَانِ وَإِنَّهُ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ. Naam, that verily this is from Sulaiman, and verily in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, the one of mercy, who is mercy, yani is continuous. The one with a vast amount of mercy, who is mercy, it is continuous. The ulama, متفقون العلماء على أنها آية من سورة النمل. The ulama, they have agreed unanimously that the basmala, it is an ayah from Surah An-Naml. And that again is verse number 30. Verse number 30 from Surah An-Naml. The ulama agree that's an ayah. Naam. Wait. So what about the basmala in front of Al-Fatiha? Is this an ayah or not? And if it is an ayah, is it an ayah by itself, or is it the first ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha? Naam, this is what we want to look at. The Shaykh, he goes on and he mentions, he says, was sahih, that which is correct as relates to this issue, الذي رجحه جماعة من المحققين, that what is correct and what is the strongest of the opinion with a group from the scholars who are yani muhaqqiqeen. These are those scholars who study the issues and the differences of opinion with great depth and precision. Now, and then yani, you know, they speak about the difference of opinion and what is strong and what is yani, weaker, and so on and so forth. An example of this is like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. You will say yani, he's a scholar from this type. Naam, muhaqqiqeen. Likewise, Talmidu, Imam Ibn Qayyim, also his student Imam Ibn Qayyim. Naam, the ulama, they mention he is from these category of ulama, muhaqqiqeen. Ala kulli hal, the ulama, they mention, right, and they say this is the strongest opinion, that the basmala, it is an ayah. So we want to deal with that first. That the basmala, it is an ayah. Naam. What is the reason behind this? أنها آية. Why? فإن الصحابة رضي الله عنهم لم يكتبوا في المصحف إلا القرآن ولم يكتبوا فيه ما ليس منه. Is that the Sahaba, when they penned the Qur'an, they only wrote the Qur'an. That's it. They only wrote the Qur'an. Naam, in the Mus'haf. So everything that was written inside of the Qur'an, yani, or inside of the Mus'haf, we should say, is what? Is an ayah. Everything that is written inside the Qur'an is an ayah. Because they only wrote inside of the Qur'an that which was from the Qur'an, the ayat, the verses of the Qur'an. Naam. So the fact that you find the Sahaba writing the basmala in front of every surah except Surah At-Tawbah, this is an indication that what? They didn't do this on their own ijtihad. They didn't do this based upon their own reasoning, but they did this because this is what they learned from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did this because this is an ayah. It's an ayah from every surah. Now, it's an ayah, or excuse me, the basmala that comes as an ayah in front of every surah is an ayah. So I'm going to reiterate that again. I misspoke. The basmala that comes in front of every surah except for Surah At-Tawbah, it is an ayah. It is an ayah. Naam. So now there comes the question, is it an ayah that is a part of every chapter except Surah At-Tawbah, Or is it an ayah that stands by itself? Or is it an ayah that stands by itself? Naam. You with me? That makes sense? Right. The Shaykh, he mentions a hadith that comes inside of it to the Medina, and this hadith is graded as Hasan. And that is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Inna surah min al-Qur'an. Inna suratan min al-Qur'an. That verily there is a chapter from the Qur'an. 30 ayah is 30 verses. Is 30 verses. Naam. Shafa'at lil-rajul hatta ghufira lahu. It will give intercession for a person until he or she is forgiven. Now it says he, but we add in or she. Now, because although the word rajul, the rajul, is mentioned here in the ayah, this is not something that is mentioned here in the hadith. It is not something that is particular and specific to the men, to the exclusion of the women, but it also includes the women as well. Now, so by saying the rajul, we understand the rajul wal imra'ah, for the man and for the women. Now, for the man and for the women, until they are forgiven. وَهِيَ صُورَةٌ تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكِ. Now, and it's a surah al-Mulk. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he said, اتفق العلماء القرآن على أن سورة التبارك 30 آية من غير بسملة. He said that the ulama, they have, using this hadith as a frame of reference to show that is it an ayah that is a part of every surah, meaning is the basmala the first ayah in every surah except Surah Tawbah? Then the answer will be no, it's not. As Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned, using this hadith, is that what? Is that the ulama of the Qur'an, they are in agreement that Surah Mulk or Surah, Shaykh al-Islam, he said Tabarak, because Surah Mulk is also called Surah Tabarak, due to the first word of the surah, Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk. So another name for Surah al-Mulk is Surah Tabarak. He says that they agree that Surah al-Mulk, a Surah Tabarak, 30 ayah min ghayri basmala. It is 30 verses without the Bismillah. Without the Basmala. It's 30 verses. Even Shaykh Abdul Rahman, he says, so therefore, فبسملة, or so therefore, فبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آية من القرآن إلا أنها آية مستقلة. So in general, the Basmala, it is a verse from the Qur'an, but it's a verse that stands by itself. It's a verse that stands by itself. So in front of Surah Al-Baqarah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alif Lam Mim. That Basmala is an ayah by itself, and the first ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah is Alif Lam Mim. Likewise, another example, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. So that Basmala in front of Surah Al-Ikhlas is an ayah, but it's not the first ayah of Surah Al-Ikhlas. The first ayah of Surah Al-Ikhlas is Qul huwa Allahu ahad. But it's an ayah that stands by itself. طيب. This is speaking what? In general. This is speaking in general. But the Basmala is an ayah by itself. Except where? Except in Surah. It's an ayah in part of what Surah? Because they mentioned that it is an ayah that is by itself. Right? It's an ayah that sits alone by itself. Except in 2 chapters. The first one that was mentioned was what? Surah? It's the 30th verse from Surah An-Naml. The 30th verse from Surah An-Naml. The ulama agree that's an ayah from Surah An-Naml. But the ulama, they differ with regards on whether or not the Basmala is the first ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha. They differ about this. But the strongest opinion is that it is an ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha. This is the strongest opinion. And Shaykh Ali, he mentions, he says, كما رأى إمام الدرقطني وغيره, and other than him. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال الكتاب 7 آيات إحداها بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. It comes here clear in this hadith that the mother of the book, and the mother of the book is another name for surah, which one? Al-Fatiha is another name for surah Al-Fatiha. They agree that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, or this hadith, it shows us that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is an ayah from surah Al-Fatiha. So now there are 2 chapters in the Qur'an in which Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is actually an ayah of that chapter. The first one is what? Surah An-Naml, which all the ulama agree on, right? And then the second one is what? Surah Al-Fatiha, where there's a difference of opinion, but this is the strongest opinion and the strongest view, and that is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is an ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha, just like it comes in a hadith that has been collected by Imam ad-Daraqutni. So this is getting back to now, and you can see now what is the opinion of Sheikh Abdul Razak, and we can understand better where he's coming from, because he says Al-Basmala ayatun min kitabillah azza wa jalla, that the Basmala is an ayah, is a verse from the book of Allah. Naam, from the book of Allah. So as a person, he reads this and he has some background information of this chapter from the scholars. He has some background information on the different statements of the ulama. You already know where the Shaykh is coming from, why he says it is a verse. Now, that's the strongest opinion. It is a verse. And as relates to Surah Al-Fatiha, it is a verse from Surah Al-Fatiha. And there's another surah too where it's a verse from. That's from where? Surah? No. There's another surah where Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is a part of the surah. What surah is that one? Yeah. That. What is it? La. There's no Bismillah in front of Surah Tawbah. It's Surah what? An-Naml. Remember? An-Naml. The ulama agree that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it is an ayah from Surah An-Naml. Naam. Question. The ulama who say that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is an ayah from Surah An-Naml, do all the ulama agree on this, or just some ulama say this? All of the ulama agree that it's an ayah from Surah An-Naml. But the fact of the Basmala being the first ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha, do all of the ulama agree on this? No. But it's the what? Strongest opinion. Based upon what? The hadith from Daraqutni. The hadith from Daraqutni. Now, which the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is what? Is one of the verses from Surah Al-Fatiha. Now, that the Kitab 7 ayat. Now, this is the hadith, inshallah ta'ala. You can write it down. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Kitab 7 ayat. The mother of the book is 7 verses. Ihdaha, one of them, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, so the Basmala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then this is an ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha. This is an ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha. Surah Ikhlas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Is the Basmala here in Surah Ikhlas the first ayah from Surah Al-Ikhlas? No. But it's an ayah that what? Stands alone, stands by itself. Naam, ahsantum. Tayyib. So the Shaykh, he mentions, Shaykh Abdul Razak, he goes on and he says, يُؤْتَى بِهَا بَيْنَ يَدِي تِلَاوَةٍ كُلِّ سُورَةٍ عَدَاءٍ. He says that the Basmala is recited, is an ayah from the Qur'an, and it's recited at the beginning of reciting every surah. Ada, except for what surah? Surah At-Tawbah. The Shaykh, he calls it here though Surah Bara'ah. Surah Bara'ah. نعم نعم براءة. نعم سورة البراءة. طيب, this is another name for Surah At-Tawbah. Now, as you find, there are many chapters that have multiple names, dual names. Now, Bara'. Bara'. Surah Bara'. Now, in Arabic it's spelled Ba, Ra, Alif, Hamza, standing by itself, with a tam marbuta. So a Hamza on the line, yani ala sadr, standing by itself, or a Hamza that stands by itself, and then a tam marbuta after it. Now, طيب. فالبسملة, this basmala, the basmala, هي كلمة استعانة بالله تبارك وتعالى. This is a kalima that is a kalima of seeking aid and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, seeking aid and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So already now, and it shows you the beauty of the Qur'an and why we need to really be reciting the Qur'an, is that just in saying أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, this is what? الاستعاذة. استعاذة. طيب, then after that we say بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is الاستعانة. الاستعانة, which means to seek help, aid and assistance. So already now we have implemented two categories of worship. Already now we have worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with two categories of worship, because from the anwa' al-ibadah is what? Al-isti'ana and al-isti'adha. They are both categories from the categories of worship. They are both categories from the categories of worship. Let this be an encouragement for us to really spend a lot of time reading and contemplating and studying and memorizing the Qur'an, because how much khair comes. How much khair. And this is not to mention that the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that we are rewarded and we get a hasana for every letter. For every letter of the Qur'an we get a hasana. Naam. From every letter of the Qur'an we get a hasana. So just in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, how many letters is that? How many hasanat? It's a lot of hasanat. I mean, you can count them if you want to. But I'm just saying, it's a lot of hasanat. And remember that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that what? وَالْحَسَنَةَ بِعَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا, and that the hasana is multiplied by 10. It's multiplied by 10. Right? So it's tremendous. We said the isti'adah. Right? Then we said the basmala. Now let me ask you this. The isti'adah, is this an ayah from the Qur'an? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Is this an ayah in front of every surah? No. We're just commanded what? To seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the shaitan before we recite from the Qur'an. But at the head of every surah, except for Surah At-Tawbah, then there's a basmala. Naam. So, let us know more. What's about this basmala? It is seeking aid and assistance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ومعنى ببدء تلاوة بالبسملة, and the meaning of bringing Bismillah in front of the recitation of the surah. What's the purpose? What does it mean? As you will find that the Basmala, its meaning will change depending upon the situation. Depending upon the situation. Naam. So here, because we're starting to recite, then what it means is أن من يتلو كتاب الله يبدأ بتلاوته مستعينا بالله, that whoever recites the book of Allah, then he starts off his recitation by seeking the help, aid and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we seek the help, aid and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لأن الباء, because the ba, I want you to write the letter ba, Because someone say, well, how do you know it's for, what do you call it? Al-isti'ana. How do you know it's for al-isti'ana? But the Shaykh explains to us, because the letter ba inside of bismi. Now, inside of bismi. You with me? That letter ba inside of bismi. This is the ba of al-isti'ana. This is the ba of al-isti'ana, seeking help, aid, and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the functionality of the ba here. Now, Bismillah. Right? Because it means what? In the name of Allah. In the name of Allah. Bismillah. So this is seeking help, aid, and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Person says the Basmala before he recites the Qur'an. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the one whose mercy, it does not sever, it does not stop. We're seeking what? His aid, help, and assistance in reading the Qur'an. Now, so when you say Bismillah in front of anything you do, then that's how the meaning changes. Like when a person sat down to read, right? And he said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Aqra. In the name of Allah, I'm reading. Right? If a person, before the wudu, for example, we say Bismillah for the wudu. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, never said the most merciful. I'm making wudu. Now, wait. To the end of this. Now, so the fi'l that is mahdoof, that is taken away, it will change depending upon the situation. It will change depending upon the situation. So here, because we're reciting, then we understand what, in the name of Allah, the one who is tremendously merciful, the most merciful, the one whose mercy does not end, we're going to read. We're reading. We're reciting from the Qur'an. So that's one benefit from the Basmala. Another benefit from the Basmala is mutabarrikan bidhikr ismihi tabarak wa ta'ala, is that we're seeking blessings. We're seeking blessings by mentioning the name or his name, tabarak wa ta'ala. We're seeking blessings by mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, so do you see how much benefit it is in reciting the Quran? Do you see how much benefit? Seeking aid, help, and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan. All of these things are from the benefits of an individual when he sits down to recite the Quran, or when she sits down to recite the Quran. And how long does it take to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? How long does it take? A few seconds. Right? And look at all that benefit. All those good deeds. Subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. It's amazing. Right? It's amazing. 10 good deeds for every letter. Just in Bismi. You have the ba, then you have the sin, and you have a meme. Right? And that's what? 3. So that's times 10, 30. Times 10, 30. Subhanallah. Then if you go through and count the other, and remember, Shadda, that's representative of 2 letters. A Shadda is representative of 2 letters. So then you have, that's 3, then you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Excuse me. Let's do that again. It's 3. You have here 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, so just in Bismillah. Just in Bismillah. How many is that? No. Bismillah. You got the ba, the sin, the meme. That's 3, right? Then you have here the hamza. Right? Hamza til wasl. Then you have a lam. Right? Then you have another lam that has a shadda on top of it. So that's 2 lambs. And then you have the ha. The ha marbuta. Naam. The ha marbuta. Not ta marbuta. The ha marbuta. Right? So just right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 10. 80 good deeds. And what did you say? Bismillah. That's amazing. Right? SubhanAllah. Anybody who knows he's going to die, anybody who knows he's going to die, excuse me, he has to recite the Qur'an a lot. Or she should be reciting the Qur'an a lot. Anybody who knows they're going to die. Okay, if you're not going to die, this is not applicable to you. What I'm saying, don't worry about it. But if you're going to die one day, then what I'm saying is very important. So I don't know no human being except he's going to die. No jinn except he's going to die. Huh? Everything's going to die. Except what? Except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But so therefore we should be filling our lives with what? With the Qur'an. Because look, small efforts produce so much benefit. So much benefit. Not saying that, of course, the more you recite, the better it is for you, right? But a recitation that's with, tadabbur, that's with contemplation, you're reciting it correctly, and so on and so forth. Now, it's not to say just, try to speed read through it to get more ayat, because what's muhim is that you're understanding and reflecting over what you're memorizing, so it has an effect upon you, has an effect on your heart, has an effect on you. You understand what I'm saying? But the point is that how much benefit is it in reciting the Qur'an? So if you and everyone is busy to different degrees, this is true. But even the most busiest of individuals, I have no doubt they can recite 1 page from the Qur'an a day. Just 1 page. Just 1 page. 1 page. Right? I don't know if they can do more, but no matter how busy you are, you can recite 1 page. Even if you had to wait all the way up until after you ate dinner, all the way up until after Isha, all the way up until a few moments before you pray witr, or right after you pray witr, because you pray witr before you went to sleep, just to recite from the Qur'an. Right? Or in the morning time before you get dressed and that to go to work, right after Fajr, sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, recite the Qur'an, and then do your adhkar for the morning time. We can't afford to miss out on this benefit. We can't afford to miss out on this benefit. But then we have the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lafzul Jalala. Allah. Naam. But Alamun ala Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a name. This is a name of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is Allah's name. Allah. Naam, this is Allah's name. وَمَعْنَاهُ. What is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dhul uluhiyyah. He deserves to be worshipped alone. He deserves to be worshipped alone. Naam. وَالْعُبُودِيَّةِ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ أَجْمَعِينَ. And He deserves that all of His slaves submit themselves to Him in servitude. Because the ubudiyya is from the slave. The slave, he's a servant. He's a slave of Allah Azza wa Jal. He is the abd, or the ama, or she is the ama of Allah Azza wa Jal. They're Allah's slave. So the servitude has to be given unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is a right that Allah has over all of His creation. This is a right that Allah has over all of His creation. Naam. وَهُوَ دَالٌ عَلَى أُلُوهِيَّةِ اللَّهِ. And Allah, it points to the fact that only Allah deserves to be worshipped. The name, Allah Ta'ala's name, Lafzul Jalala, it points us to the fact that only Allah deserves to be worshipped. That only Allah deserves to be worshipped. وهي أوصاف الكمال والعظمة والجلال التي استحق بها يؤله وأن يعبد وأن يذل له ويخضع له جل عز وجل جل وعز. So therefore this kalima, it points us to the characteristics of Allah, that He is complete, He is the most great and magnificent, He is the most noble, and He has the right to be worshipped alone, and He is the one who we have to be submissive unto Him and submit ourselves unto Allah Azza wa Jal. وَدَالٌ عَلَى الْعُبُودِيَّةِ. And it also points to the fact that the right of Allah upon the slave is that the slave submits himself unto Allah Azza wa Jal with at-Tawheed. He submits himself to Allah with the Tawheed, وَالْإِنْقِيَاءَ لَهُ بِطَاعَةٍ, and that he complies to His obedience, وَبَرَاءً مِنَ الشِّرْكِ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ, and that he disassociates himself from shirk and from the people of shirk. All of this, what? We understand from Allah Ta'ala's name, Allah. And likewise that the ubudiyyah, the servitude, is Allah's right upon all of His creatures, upon all of the creation. وَهِيَ أَفْعَالُ الْعَبْدِ. And the ubudiyyah, then this is the أَفْعَالُ الْعَبْدِ الَّتِي يَقْتَضِيهَا هَذَا الْإِسْمِ. Then this are the actions that the slave he brings forward, those actions that are necessitated by this name. Those actions that are necessitated by this name. So the ubudiyyah is from what? Is from the slave. The servitude. We make servitude unto Allah. We submit ourselves unto Allah Azza wa Jal. Then this is what? From the slave. This is a right that is binding upon the slave to submit himself to Allah Azza wa Jal. But the uluhiyya, then this is what? That Allah is worshipped alone. So the uluhiyya, what? Belongs unto Allah Azza wa Jal. That Allah is worshipped alone, and nothing is worshipped alone with Allah Azza wa Jal. And that nothing is worshipped with Allah Azza wa Jal. And when the slave submits himself to that fact, and he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way in which we have been taught by the Anbiya and the Rusul, then by way in which that individual, he will be what? He will be submitting himself to Allah Azza wa Jal. This will be the ubudiyyah, yani min al-abd, from the slave, submitting himself unto Allah Azza wa Jal. Min al-dhul, what comes inside of that is that an individual, he is humble in front of Allah. Wal khudu', and that he submits himself unto Allah Azza wa Jal. Wal kisab, and that he just totally surrenders unto Allah Azza wa Jal. Wa iqbalin ala Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, and that he turns unto Allah Azza wa Jal. All of this is understood and more from what? And more. But all of this is understood from Lafzul Jalala, Allah. Naam. Which, subhanallah, is another indication and illustration that the ulama see what we don't see. Even though we may be reading the same things, what they take away from it is way more than what we understand from it. So to tap into that treasure, of knowledge, then we have to connect ourselves to the ulama. We have to connect ourselves to the ulama so that we can tap into that treasure of knowledge. طيب. الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن الرحيم. نعم. الرحمن الرحيم. طيب. اسمان مشتقان من الرحمة. These are two names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. These are two names that are extracted from the word Rahmah. Naam. Or we can say they stem from the word Rahmah. They stem from the word Rahmah. Right? These names, which used to be translated a lot as the most beneficent, the most merciful. Now, what are the meanings of these two names? What are the meanings of these two names? Because we know that they're not synonyms. From the standpoint, as the ulama of Lugha they explain, is that in Arabic language there are no true synonyms. In Arabic language there are no true synonyms. There are words that are very similar in their meanings. Naam, they're very similar in their meanings, but there's always a slight difference. There's always a slight difference. Naam. But yeah, you got that down? Okay. There's always a slight difference. So, Ar-Rahman, what do we understand? And what is the meaning of Ar-Rahman? Ar-Rahman هو دال على الرحمة الواسعة الشاملة. That Ar-Rahman, this points to the fact that Allah, He is the most merciful, and that His mercy is vast, and it covers. It is vast, and it covers everything. It's vast. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has a great amount of mercy. He is the most merciful. He is the most merciful. And His mercy, it covers and touches everything. Everything. Now, قال الله تعالى وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. And my mercy, it covers everything. My mercy, it covers everything. And this ayah is in Surah Al-A'raf, and it's verse 156. It is verse 156. Now, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it covers everything. The human beings, the jinn, everything that is created. Allah ta'ala's mercy covers everything. Covers everything. You understand? So, from that standpoint, Allah, Huwa Ar-Rahman, this means that what? Even mercy is shown to the kuffar. Even Rahmah is shown to the kuffar. Now my question is, where? In this world and in the hereafter, or in the hereafter by itself, or only in this world? Where do the kuffar get mercy? Where? In this world. In this world. Naam. And what is some of the evidence that points to that is that what? Allah allows them to drink. Allah allows them to eat. Allah allows that fluid and that solid food to come out of their bodies. Okay? But this is from Allah's mercy. This is from Allah's mercy. So when we understand that, then we understand how many of the ulama they say Ar-Rahim دال على ما خص الله تبارك وتعالى به أولياءه, is that Ar-Rahim is a mercy that is specific to the avid worshippers of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Meaning that this is a mercy that is particular to the believers. The believers. Naam. It is particular to al-awliya. But yeah, you got that? And the proof of this, where the ulama get this from, is from the ayah in Surah Al-Ahzab. And it's verse 43, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا, and that He is unto the believers merciful. But it's not used here Rahman. Naam, it's not used here Rahman, but it's used here Rahim, because this type of Rahmah is particular and specific to the believers. To the believers. That makes sense? Now, you will find that the ulama, they have differ with regards to what Ar-Rahim means. Some of the ulama, they say that it is a mercy that is particular to the believers. You with me? That makes sense? But whereas Ar-Rahman, they say this is a mercy that encompasses everything, believers and disbelievers. That makes sense? Meaning that what? The kuffar, they receive mercy in this life, but there is no mercy for them in the next life. You with me? Okay. Ar-Rahim, this mercy is bestowed upon the believers only. And this is a mercy that the believers will receive what? In this life and in the hereafter. And in the hereafter. Y'all with me, right? You with me? But so when you look at the difference of opinion as it comes to Ar-Rahim, you realize it's not really a difference of opinion. Because others from the ulama, they say that what we understand from Ar-Rahim is that Allah's mercy does not stop. Is that Allah's mercy does not stop. So there's a few things we take away from this. And we see how there is no real difference of opinion. They're just explaining different aspects of Allah Ta'ala's name. But there's really no difference of opinion. Because those who say that it's only the mercy that the believers receive, okay? Because the believers, they receive mercy in this life and in the next. So those who say that it is a mercy that doesn't stop, it's still okay. Why? Because this mercy will be shown in this life and in the next to the believers. So it shows that it's a mercy that doesn't stop. So those ulama, they say that Ar-Rahim points to a mercy that does not stop. Then this is still consistent and it doesn't contradict those ulama that say it is a mercy that is particular to the believers. But in fact, they're saying the same thing and explaining it just from different ways. Just explain it from where? From different ways. That makes sense? Like, another benefit. Another benefit that we get from it is as the ulama, they explain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the most merciful. His mercy is extensive. It covers everything. But at the same time, to show us the perfection of Allah Azza wa Jal, is that His mercy does not stop, does not end. What shows us the imperfection of the human beings. Now, one of the things that shows the imperfection of the human beings is that what? Is that a person, he can be very rich. Right? So a person comes and he said he's very rich. He has a lot of money. But at some point, and he can be generous too. He can be generous. He likes to give his money away. But the reality of it is that no matter how much money you have, right, your supply is limited. So if you keep giving, at some point your money's going to stop. Even if you're a multi-billionaire with a B, right? Your money's going to stop. Eventually, you keep giving, eventually it's going to be no more to give. You have no more. And that points it to what? To the imperfection of the human beings. Because when you look at the human being, there is nothing, there's none of our attributes except it'll be seven. Except it'll be seven. All of our attributes will be seven. Either prior to or upon our death. Either prior to or upon our death, our actions will be seven. Our attributes, seven. Okay? As relates to the actions, except for those actions in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His bounty, will still reward us for after we die. Right? But even at some point, even those will end. So the sadaqah jariyah, that sadaqah that remains, like the person, he buys a library for the masjid, for example. Now, he'll be rewarded for that as long as his books are around, people to read from them. Right? But there may come a point where the book's not around no more. Likewise, a person who digs a well, this is a sort of his jariyah. It will go beyond it after the person's death as long as people's benefiting from that well. But if the well dries up and things like that, then that stops, right? The righteous child who makes dua for his parents, when that child dies, that stops. Child dies, it stops. Okay. So to show so even with these things that last beyond our lifetime, they're still subject to stopping. They're still subject to stopping. Right? So this is an illustration of man's imperfection, of man's weakness, of man's inability. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He not only is the most merciful and has a lot of mercy, but His mercy will never end. It will never be cut off. Never be cut off. Because Allah is perfect. Na'am? Right. That makes sense. Khair. And then the Shaykh he moves on to Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. نعم. والحمد هو الثناء على الله مع الحب. نعم. Inshallah we take a little more, but I want to come back to this next week or the week after, inshallah ta'ala, and revisit it. Alhamd, this means this is praising of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the praising of Allah, but it's a praising of Allah that is mixed with what? Ma'a al-hub lahu. It is a praising of Allah that it is mixed with what? With love. With love. Na'am. Loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we say Alhamdulillah, this is an indication of what? Not just praising Allah and being grateful unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's being grateful unto Allah and praising Allah coupled with loving Allah. That we love Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, tell them to turn it up to like 76, 77. Oh, ma'alish, I'm sorry, they can hear. I forgot all about that. Turn it up to like 76 or 77, inshallah. Now, so this is with love. And this is important because a person could say some good words about somebody, right? But not like them. You know, it could be a person who you really can't stand, but just out of fairness from the Bible being fair, you say, well, yeah, he is good in this and good in that. Right? But at the same time, like, you don't like this person. It's not your favorite person at all. You know, this is not, you can't call this yani thana. Or excuse me, you can't call this alhamd. You can't call this alhamd. Na'am. Because the hamd is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'am. So this is what? This is a glorifying and speaking well of and thanking and being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's mixed with what? With love. With love. With love. Now, Wallah Azza wa Jal yuthna alayhi ala asma'ihi al-husna wa sifatihi al-ulya. And the way we glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by praising Him by His names, by His beautiful names, and by His lofty attributes. Praising Him by His beautiful names and by His lofty attributes. وَيُثْنَى عَلَيْهِ عَلَى نِعْمِهِ. And we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, show thanks and gratitude unto Allah Jalla wa'ala, due to the bounties in which He has bestowed upon us. Listen. The bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us. Because remember now, this is a glorification and glorifying and showing thanks and gratitude with love. With love, right? With love. So from those things in which we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, many things, right? But from those things is that what? Is that from His bounties. The bounties He's bestowed upon us. Every bounty that we have is from Allah. Every bounty. There's not a single bounty we have except that it's from Allah. Right? So the ulama, they explain that. So therefore the love is based upon the bounties. The human being, we have been created, our fitrah is that we have a tendency to love / like, whatever you want to call it, those who are good to us. If a person is good to you, he gives you presents, he gives you things, he's very nice to you, he helps you when you need help, so on and so forth, you're going to develop affection for that person. You're going to develop affection for that person. You're going to love that person because he's so nice to you. How can you not? Right? I'm being honest with you. How could you not? That's the reality. This is how we've been created. That I need to appreciate people when they're nice to us. Now, of course, human beings, they tear themselves up and twist themselves all over. So you got people that are just ingrates, they don't care, But the point is that generally, the human being, when he's upon his fitrah, he has a tendency to incline towards people who are nice to him. Right? And this is why we have to be very careful. I'm telling you this, we have to be very careful. Because this is something that Jama'atul Tabligh, they realize. That's why when they first come, they're so nice. They want to cook for everyone. They bring fruit. Right? They bring all kind of fruit. And that. All type of stuff. Fruit, groceries, whatever. We want to cook for everybody. We want to make breakfast. We're going to this, we're that. They're famous for that. And that draws people in, because it's like, wow, he's so nice. He brought me food, he gave me, he cooked it, and put my plate and this and that. Right? They understand it. So they use this tactic. They use this tactic to try to bring people in, because this is from the ways in which that they beautify their bid'ah. This is how they beautify their bid'ah. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because they exploit this feeling of inclining to the one who's so nice to you. But so getting back, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us everything, and that from those factors which will determine how much we love will be in relation to how much was given from bounties. So being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed these bounties upon us, and that there is no bounty except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed it upon us, and that every bounty that we have is from Allah, is it conceivable that we can love anyone equal to or more than Allah? No. Not at all. Not at all. It's no way. No way. That's why we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more. And not just why we love Allah more, but this is also why our love for everything else is based upon our love for Allah. You understand? So we love those who are righteous. Why? Because they are obedient to Allah. They are obedient to Allah, and we love Allah. So the more obedient they are to Allah, the more we love them. We have hatred in our hearts for the kuffar. Because what? Because they are disobedient unto Allah, and they do not believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. They don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. Now when I say don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, I mean they don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal properly. And not properly believing in Allah is tantamount to not believing in Allah. You understand? This is like, I'll give an example. Imam Uthaymeen, he mentions that the kuffar, they don't really believe in the day of judgment. And this is from two standpoints. The one standpoint is that you have kuffar who deny it altogether. He said, but even those kuffar that acknowledge that there is going to be a day of judgment, in reality, they don't believe in a day of judgment because their belief connected to it is contrary to how it's really going to be. The Christians, they say they believe in a day of judgment, but they think on the day of judgment, the Christians are going to enter into Jannah, and that Jesus is going to judge everybody. So when you look at that, you realize what? Although they say they believe, their belief is tantamount to disbelief because none of that going to happen. Okay? Like, and then you can use that as a measure stick for the other kuffar to say they believe in the day of judgment. So if you believe incorrectly in the day of judgment, then this is tantamount to what? Not believing in the day of judgment. Now, so likewise, those individuals who say, oh, we believe in Allah, they don't believe in Allah correctly, so they don't believe in Allah. They really don't believe in Allah. Those kuffar, the same thing. The Christian, they say, oh, we believe in Allah. They don't believe in Allah correctly because they believe Allah is the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. They believe in the Trinity. That's false. So they really what? Don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They really do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So this is why it is incumbent, or from this, and I hope we get as a takeaway from this, to really strive to learn the meanings of the ayat, because this is what changes our lives. And I'm saying this to say that when we recited, the last time we recited Surah Al-Fatiha, now it was just a little while ago in Salat al-Isha, right? These meanings that the Shaykh is pointing out, did any of this pass our brain when we were in each rak'ah, when we were reciting Surah Al-Fatiha? When we said Alhamdulillah, did we remember and did it come to our mind this reality of praising Allah from love? Did this come to our mind? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. We praise Allah Ta'ala because we love Allah. We love Allah more than everything, including ourselves. We love Allah more than everything. Did this come to our minds? Did this strike our hearts? Because see, when you contemplate upon the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while you are praying, and in order to do that, in order to contemplate on the meanings of the Qur'an, then what? Outside the salat, you have to study about the meanings of the Qur'an. So now when you're in the salat, then what? Then you can contemplate. Because of course, when you're in salat, that's not the time to read Ibn Kathir or Tafsir al-Sa'di and so on and so on. It's not the time for that. It's time for prayer, right? So what helps us is the preparation before the prayer and after the prayer. Why? How? Or by studying the tafsir of those ayat, especially those ayat that we often recite, so that we know the meanings of it. So that while we're praying, we can be reflecting over the meanings. Naam. But, and then, Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the Alameen. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. MashaAllah. I like that. But Alameen. Who are the Alameen? Because it says Allah is the Lord of the Alameen. Who are the Alameen? They are who? Ay Khaliquhum, meaning their creator. Malikuhum, their owner. Mudabbir lahum, the one who arranges their affairs. Al-mutasarrifu fihim, the one who changes their situations and affects them in their lives. La sharika lahu fi shay' min dhalik, and there is Allah has no partners in anything as relates to this, because He is the Lord. Now, when alamun, the alamun, who are the alamun? So I want you to write alamun, because it comes in the ayah, Rabbil Alameen. Now, but when it comes by itself, it is not affected by anything else in the sentence, then it is alamun. Alamun. Now, with the marfu', alamun. But because of the grammatical functionality of the word al-alamun inside of the ayah, it becomes alameen. Rabbil Alameen. Right? In any event, who are the alamun? Who are the alamun? Very easy. I want you to write alamun, and then I want you to write colon for the description of who they are. Right? So someone says, what does that word mean? Alamun. Who's the alamun? The alamun, real simple. Hum man siwa Allah. The alamun is everything other than Allah. Everything outside of Allah, you refer to it as the alamun. And this is why it's translated in the Noble Qur'an as the, let me check exactly. This is why it is translated in the Noble Qur'an as such. It's translated as, all praise and thanks belong to Allah. All praise and thanks are Allah's, the Lord of the Alameen. And then they have in parentheses, mankind, jinn, and all that exists. Mankind, jinn, and all that exists. So all that exists, what? Except for Allah. So everything outside of Allah, then that is what is the Alamun. Because Allah, He is the Lord, Rabbil Alameen. Rabbil Alameen. Now, that makes sense? But, and inshallah, as I said, we're going to come back, we're going to backtrack a little bit in the next class before we continue. But I want you to see something. Surah Al-Fatiha is the first verse, the first chapter. The first chapter in the Qur'an. Okay? Inside of the first ayah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We see in that what? Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And when we understand what is meant by it, that we're seeking the help, aid, and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And we mentioned inside of it Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, two of Allah's names. So therefore also is understood the attributes that are connected to it, and that Allah Ta'ala is the owner of mercy. In any event, you will say, you see here in this ayah, Tawheed, Al-Asma' wal-Sifat, Naam, Al-Asma' wal-Sifat, and Tawheed, Al-Uluhiyyah. Because we ask for Allah, we ask for Allah, Allah's help, aid, and assistance. Now, but inside of the next ayah, the second ayah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right? All praise and thanks belong to Allah, the Lord of all that exists. The Lord of all that exists. Yani meaning what? Other than Allah, because the Alamun are other than Allah. Everything outside of Allah is the Alamun. Any event we see here, Rabb, that Allah is our creator, that He is our owner, that He is the range of the affairs, so on and so forth. All of this is what? At-Tawheed Ar-Rububiyyah. At-Tawheed Ar-Rububiyyah. Then we have the ayah after that, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Again, Allah's names and attributes. This is what? At-Tawheed Al-Asma' wa-Sifat. And then if you skip a couple, later on inside of the surah, we have Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'een. Unto you alone do we worship, and unto you alone do we ask for help. This is At-Tawheed Al-Uluhiyyah. You see that? The Qur'an just started. And it's filled with Tawheed. Filled. Just started. Filled with Tawheed. But how does the Qur'an end? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Rabb. Right? Seek refuge in the Lord of mankind. Rabb. Tawheed. Rububiyyah. What's the next one? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Huh? Naam. And that is what? Al-Asma' wa-Sifat. Because Allah Ta'ala, He is the what? He is the Lord. Excuse me. The Malik is what? Allah Ta'ala, He is the King of mankind. Al-Asma' wa-Sifat. Al-Asma' wa-Sifat. Owner is Malik. Like in Surah Al-Fatiha. Maliki Yawmiddin. Here is Malikin Nas. Malikin Nas. The King. But in any event, that points us to what? Al-Asma' wa Sifat. And the next, Ilahin Nas. Uluhiyyah. Uluhiyyah. And Surah An-Nas is what? Is the last chapter in the Qur'an. So the Qur'an starts with Tawheed. It ends with Tawheed. And everything between the first and the last chapter is Tawheed. Tawheed. Kitab al-Tawheed. Now, they asked Shaykh bin Baz, what is the best books in Aqidah? Sheikh bin Baz said, first and foremost, Kitab al-Tawheed. What comes to most people's minds when they hear that name is a book authored by Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah ta'ala. But that's not what the Shaykh intended. So Imam bin Baz, he says, what I mean by Kitab al-Tawheed is the Qur'an, because the Qur'an is Kitab al-Tawheed. It's a book of Tawheed. It's filled with Tawheed, from beginning to the end. Now, from beginning to the end. But there are also some other very subtle but very beautiful things that that come here. Because we always see that we have to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, but also inside of Allah ta'ala statements, Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of the Day of Judgment, that comes inside of another recitation, not House and Asim what we recite, but another recitation, Maliki Yawmiddin, the King of the Day of Judgment. Now, ala kulli hal, what we understand from this ayat and what this ayat necessitates is khawf, fear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we have fear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, and it's incumbent that we understand the reality of this, because all of these are aspects of the Iman, and the Ahl Sunnah is in the middle. We are not those who lean towards fear and we don't have any hope, right? We are not those who base everything just on because we love, but yet we're not scared of. You understand? Because you have from the Sufiya those who say that we worship Allah out of love, not out of fear, nor because we want anything from Allah, but we worship Him because we love Him. This is not correct. It's not correct. Just to look at Allah, no, it's not correct. But then you have from the likes of the Khawarij, who everything is based upon fear. Khawf. There is no raja, there is no hope. It's all khawf. It's all fear. And of course, this is not correct, because the Khawarij kilabun nar, they are dogs of the hellfire. So this is not correct, right? So Ahl Sunnah, you find always in the middle, between hope and between fear, right? We hope in Allah's mercy, we fear Allah's punishment. We love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the same time, we are scared of Allah azza wa jalla. We're scared of Allah. Now, we love Allah, but yet we still scared of Allah too, because Allah, Huwa al-Aziz, He's the most mighty. Huwa al-Azim, He's the most magnificent, the most powerful. Huwa shadidul iqab, He's severe in punishment. He's severe in punishment. Now, so only a person who's sane will accept that he will fear Allah. He will have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, ala kulli hal, all of these benefits come from what? This is the first few ayat. First few ayat of the chapter. Now, which shows the great amount of depth of knowledge that is contained inside of the Qur'an, how rich it is with knowledge and guidance, and how much we are in need of striving to learn it, and how rich it is and very clear in teaching us the proper belief, So it is incumbent upon us that we contemplate over the ayat, that we learn their meanings so that we may implement them. And this is how they will have a positive effect and change upon our lives. So this is an encouragement for everyone to strive hard and going over and studying the tafsir of the Qur'an, so that we may ultimately implement the guidance that is contained therein, because that is how we're going to be successful, by sticking to the book of Allah, the sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the way and the methodology of the Salaf of this ummah. There is no other way. This is the only way to success, the only way to be rightly guided. And then the Shaykh, he goes on to other ayat from Surah Al-Fatiha, but we will pick up a little before where we left off in the next class. We'll pick up a little before where we left off in the next class. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.